Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangl.
Well, welcome to episode number 49 of the Monday Money Tip Podcast. My name is Joseph Sangl. I am fired up to be joined by my temporary co-host, David Nimmons.
Woohoo!
Are you fired up to be a part of the podcast
fired
again
up.
today?
I can't believe you just said temporary.
Yeah, he's temporary. He hasn't earned his way to permanent slot. He is currently filling in for the lovely Megan Hibbard, who is currently out on maternity leave because she welcomed Jordan and her first son, Logan Scott, to the world a couple months ago, and he's doing fantastic, growing like a weed, and she should be with us in the next few episodes. We're excited to have her back. In the meantime, David Nimmons is going to fill in this podcast and help us really prosper. It's going to be awesome. Tell everybody what we're going to talk about today.
Today's topic, can you explain what people should know about Social Security and how it will affect them?
That's very good. We're going to talk about Social Security. Social Security is something that is a politicized thing. A lot of people think it won't exist in the future. We're going to talk about all that stuff. It's going to be great. But first, it's that special time. What time is it? Let's go.
Now it's time to get caught up with our current money events.
This portion of the podcast is sponsored by the banking section of the I Was Broke, Now I'm Not Next Steps page. This is where you'll find all your favorite banks who offer the best interest rates and zero fees. Check it out today by visiting www.iwbnin.com. Click on the next steps and select banking.
That's it. And we really, right now, our favorite banks are Marcus, MARCUS.com, and Ally.com, paying 2.25% and 2.20% interest, respectively, dollar minimum balance, FDIC insured, and we are not compensated for promoting either of them, although they should. We're super excited about today's current money events section. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Yeah, did I nail it?
Nailed
That was
it.
awesome. It's that time where we talk about interest rates. We do this about every couple months or so that all of our podcast listeners can keep up to date with right now relevant, some R&R, right now relevant information to help them minimize interest payments to creditors and maximize interest payments to themselves. And we last updated this on April 8th, 2019. Today, we're going to talk about mortgage rates, savings rates, and CD rates. As we talk about mortgage rates, you might be driving your car, listening to the podcast, you're running, listening to the podcast, sitting in your office, taking studious notes, and you've got a house that you're thinking about refinancing. Maybe you're getting ready to buy a house. Maybe you're going to sell your house and buy another. I had a friend who just did that. And it's very important to keep up with current mortgage rates. And so, David, share everybody what the 30-year mortgage rate is right now.
The 30-year
The average
is 4.29%.
That's right. And what's crazy is it's down from 4.50%. That's pretty good. And so that's something that I did not see coming. And so that's actually very, very good news for those people that are in the home buying marketplace. And what's the 15-year rate?
The 15-year now is 3.76%, down slightly from 3.875%.
That's right. So it's about 3 3/4 down from 3 7/8. One thing that I want all of you guys to know out there in podcast listener land is that a 15-year note in mortgages is usually about 0.50% interest less. It's about a half a percentage less. So 4.29 minus 3.76 is kind of 0.53 right now. But why is it less? Why is the interest rate less on a 15-year note? Because the mortgage company is taking less risk. It's a 15-year payback versus a 30-year payback. They're getting more money back per month. They're willing to give up interest in order to get their money back sooner. And so a 15-year note, man, it's awesome if you can do it. If you cannot do it, do a 30-year note and pay yourself as a 15-year payment. You can figure out what a 15-year payback is using our mortgage payment calculator located at the wildly popular IWasBrokeNowI'mNot.com. Click on Tools, Debt. Okay, so let's talk about savings rate, basic savings rates. And so we're going to list online banks. They pay way more than your bricks and mortar banks. And so tell everybody what I've already shared what Marcus is, 2.25%. It's unchanged. Ally is 2.20% unchanged. And David, what is American Express
American
Bank?
Express is 2.1.
2.10%. So it's a full 15 basis points less than Marcus, 1/10 of a point less than Ally. So it's not my favorite, but listen, versus what we were being paid a couple years ago, it's outlandishly great. Now, if you have money that you don't need for the next couple years or so, Remember, I teach about how if I have money that I need within the next 5 years, I am not putting it at risk in a full investment, but a CD can be a great way to do that. And so tell everybody what the 1-year CD is paying right now.
The CD 1 year is 2.75%.
2.75%. It's unchanged. And the assumption is $5,000 minimum invested. And, I know I may have lost some podcast listeners that are like, who in the world would put $5,000 in a CD? But listen, if you keep listening to this podcast, you employ what we teach, and you go up the ladder, it won't be long before you have that type of money sitting around. You can earn more interest. And so what's the 3-year rate?
The 3-year CD rate between 2.95% and 3%.
And so that's up about 1/10 to 1/1500ths of a point. And a 5-year is paying even more.
Absolutely. The 5 year is 3.1% to 3.25.
That's right. So 3 1/10 to 3 1/4. It's unchanged from when we last updated a couple months ago. And so think about this. If you're going to put some money away and you need it within the next 5 years or so, but you don't need it in the next 3 years, maybe put it in a 3-year CD. You get an extra 3/4 of an interest rate point and in interest, and that's fantastic. And so that's it for the right now relevant information in the current money event section. Now we're going to move on to that great place that we love to celebrate, and that's right, it's your success stories that you email us. And so today we're going to feature Julie's success story. Tell everybody what Julie wrote us.
Absolutely. Julie said, "Hi, we love the seminar and your sermon on Saturday night. We really needed someone to push us. My husband is a Clemson grad like you, so I knew he would love hearing you speak. We bought your book and signed up online for the tools that same night. We've tried Dave Ramsey, but quite honestly, never followed through because my husband lost interest after the budget meeting. The best part was allowing us to dream first. That spoke to him and me in a big way. I've never allowed myself to dream because of the guilt over the money or lack thereof. He is a huge dreamer, but has been shackled by his finances. In reading your book, I really see why we can't skip the first step and go straight to just eliminating debt. It really is defeating when we fail over and over again. I think having a dream laid out and motivated us. Thank you. I can't wait to call and scream onto the phone and hang up when we're living our fully potential life financially."
That's awesome. And that's from Julie. And so I always love to comment on this. Number one is he's a Clemson Tiger. I got my graduate degree from Clemson, and I know you love the Clemson Tigers, don't you, David?
Not so much.
Not so much. You need to pray for him, y'all. He's a Gamecock fan, a South Carolina Gamecock. And so he's SEC all the way, and we've tried for him to get healed of that. But no, I like the Gamecocks as well. My real allegiance, of course, is to Purdue University, where I did my undergrad work. I love both Clemson and Purdue. Both of them are land-grant universities, founded by the Morrill Land Grant Act under Abraham Lincoln. Isn't that awesome? That may be not a right now relevant information.
Interesting.
But anyhow, I love a couple other things here. Is number one, they tried Dave Ramsey, but they lost focus after the budget meeting. That's not Dave Ramsey's fault. That is the fault of just not being ready. And I think one of the things that Julie really mentions is they didn't connect it to their dreams. Yeah. And so, Dave Ramsey's teaching has certainly helped me a lot. And but I will tell you, for me, the reason I stuck with the budget is I started dreaming. And that's what I see with Julie is that connection happened finally for her and her husband, is that they truly connected that if they don't do these financial decisions, these dreams are at risk.
Yeah.
And so that's great. So if you've not taken time, podcast listeners, to write down your plans, hopes, and dreams, I encourage you to do that sometime today. Start scribbling them down. Speak them into your phone. If you have an Apple Watch, read it into that. Because here's what I know. What Julie mentions is trying to just kill debt, jumping all the way to rung 4 of the I was broke, now I'm not ladder, and skipping the dreaming, skipping the saving of a month's worth of expenses, and skipping that retirement contribution. Man, it can be very, very disheartening to keep falling off the ladder. And no one else I know tries to jump straight onto the 4th rung of a ladder. Only a bunch of young guys who say, hey, y'all watch this. Probably down at South Carolina or Clemson, and they bang their heads, they end up bruised up and banged up. So, Julie, I really appreciate your sharing this success story. I love it that you've gotten on track, and we cannot wait to receive your phone call when David answers the phone and says, I was broke, now I'm not, and you just go, woo, and hang up. I love it. So thanks so much for writing us, Julie. And so now we're going to move on to the section where I do a little bit of teaching. A lot of fun doing this, and I hope that you find it helpful. Tell everybody again what the question and featured question of the week is.
Absolutely. Can you explain what people should know about Social Security and how it will affect them?
Yes. Yes, Social Security. It's a great topic and one that is very important to your retirement planning. I want you to think about all of these things that I'm sharing today. I want you to hear them, but I want you to also to process them and then do something with it. And so that's the question. Can you explain what people should know about Social Security and how it will affect them? Well, I want to share, 3 or 4 things with you today, maybe even a fifth one if we have time. But the first one is you should know your numbers. What does that mean, know your numbers? Well, you need to open your account at ssa.gov and find out how much you're going to receive during retirement. And so have you opened your account at ssa.gov?
Absolutely. I cannot remember what state it was, but we were in a hotel room together, and you said, David, go right now to ssa.gov and open up an account right now. Don't wait. Don't talk to me. Do it right now.
And
I
there's
did.
been a time that you served as an ordained minister and opted out of Social Security. That's an
Absolutely.
option. And so you thought, hey, I'm not going to ever get Social Security.
So I saw those 5 or 6 or 7 years with zeros.
Yeah. But you put away that extra money in retirement, so you didn't make that mistake.
Yeah.
But now, because you've been earning a lot of credits, you're going to be eligible for Social Security too.
Absolutely.
So that's great. And so you need to know your numbers because they used to send a statement on or about your birthday that would say, here's what your earnings history is, and here's how much you'll receive if you retire early. Here's what it is if you go to your full retirement age. Here's what you'll receive if you delay until age 70. And those numbers are very important for your retirement planning because when you saw that number, like that got your attention, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was more than $4.
Absolutely.
And so it wasn't $18,000 a month.
No.
Right?
It wasn't the ideal retirement,
But it was
money.
It was better than a kick in the head, as I say, or a kick in the knee. And it's an important thing for you to think about when you're planning your retirement. And what I like to do at my live events is I like to do virtual agreements with people. I'm standing on a stage, so I'm not with everybody, but I like to do virtual handshakes. And so I want to do a virtual handshake with each of you listening to the podcast right now to say, let's make a deal that we all show up at retirement and we owe nothing on anything. That's the deal I want to make with each of you. I want to shake hands with you. And if you're on YouTube, I'm shaking hands with you right now because I want you to make sure you show up with the least cost of living possible. If you have no house debt, no rental payment because you own the house outright, and you've got all your debt paid off, including the cars, the student loans, everything's paid off, no credit cards, then the cost of living is really low. And your Social Security can cover a lot, if not all of that.
Yeah.
Okay? So you got to know your number. And it's as simple as going to ssa.gov, opening your account. They're going to ask some information that only you would know about you. And you answer those questions, and you'll have access. It's very good. If you can't get in there, if you hate doing that, go down to your local Social Security office. They'll help you set the account up. Just make sure you bring a couple forms of ID that they request. The second thing is you need to understand that Social Security comes with some hidden benefits that many people do not know exist, and they're ever so grateful when it does. One of them is disability benefits. Many people don't know this, but if you become disabled, you may be entitled to receive substantial, and I mean substantial financial benefits to help support you financially until such time as you're able to return to work. And that disabled benefit is something that has really bailed out a lot of people who really got disabled and were not able to produce income while they were disabled. And here's the statistic that really stands out to me, that you are 3 to 4 times more likely to be disabled for 90 days or longer than you are to die before age 65. And I'll just ask you, David, have you ever had anybody in your family become disabled or be on disability for a certain period of time?
Not that
or any friends?
Not that I recall.
Not that you recall? Mm-hmm. Well, I know my father-in-law got disabled. And as a result of that, he got injured so bad in a carpentry accident that he could no longer do carpentry. And luckily, he had disability insurance, private disability insurance. But Social Security helped with that. And so it's a substantial benefit that's part of Social Security that people don't know exists. So when you look at your document, when you go and log in at ssa.gov, you will actually see it outlined right there where it says, hey, if you become disabled, this could be a benefit that you could receive. The third one is survivor benefits. And you'll see that on your form as well. It says, here's something you need to know. If you've paid into Social Security, your spouse and children may be entitled to receive substantial financial benefits to help support them until they're adults. And so the caregiver and the children until they're age 18 can receive these benefits up to a maximum amount. So if you have 8 kids, not all 8 kids are going to get a certain amount, but it is a substantial amount of money. And when I see that number on mine, I'm like, you know what? If I passed away prematurely, I have life insurance. I really recommend that. I teach that in our study. 20 to 30 year level term life insurance is great, equal to 10 times your annual take home pay. But also the survivor benefits from Social Security can really help mitigate how much money you need to use of that life insurance benefit. And it really positions your family for great success financially, and allows them to focus on the grievous loss of their spouse.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. And we've all met people and we know people who've died prematurely. We've had a member of our staff, when we were on staff at the church, who passed away in his mid-30s and left behind his wife and 3 children. And, having Social Security survivor benefits is extremely beneficial. So it's something for you to think about. Another thing I want you to know about Social Security in answering this question, explaining what you should know about it and how it's going to affect you. One of the big questions is, will Social Security even be there? They fight over this. It's a political hot potato. But I'm going to state 4 words. It's recorded. I'm speaking it out into the universe. It will be there. It's going to be there. It's just going to be there. And I'll tell you why. There will be an absolute riot. An R-O-R-I-O-T, riot. Riot. It might be rot, R-O-T, rot. A riot, rot, there's going to be something. If people aren't provided the Social Security benefits after having the money extracted from their paycheck and forcing their employer to match it all of their working lives. Hear me, all my podcast listeners who receive W-2 income. You're not a 1099 contract laborer. You don't take care of your own taxes. You actually have money withheld from your paycheck. You have a W-2 job. I want you to understand something, because many people don't understand this. But there's this thing called FICA, F-I-C-A. It's on your pay stub, and it is 6.2% of your pay. 6.2% of your pay, and your employer takes that money from your paycheck, and then they have to contribute an additional 6.2%. So you get that money out of your pay, the employer has to match it. So that's 12.4% of your pay being taken by the federal government, by Social Security, and being put in trust for your name. It's being credited to your account. Think about that. Are you putting 12.4% into your retirement?
Many are not.
Many are not. If you put 12.4% of your income in retirement, you would absolutely get more money at retirement. However, Social Security is there as a catch-all to help people who maybe weren't able to save, weren't as privileged, whatever it might be. It's a Social Security safety net. And so you're going to get some money, but there would be a riot in Washington and across the nation if people were not able to receive their Social Security benefits. So again, like always, our governance will not fix it until it's an absolute crisis, but it will be fixed. And with the improving economy, the benefits are actually improving over time on how long the program's going to last. If you don't read more about that, you can read the trustees report. Sometimes it's linked on the cbo.gov, the Congressional Budget Office website. And if you have problems sleeping, you can pull up that report. And I promise you, you will go to sleep. You think you have narcolepsy. You fell asleep so fast. That's funny. I don't care who you are. Okay, so the fifth thing that I wanted to share with you is about Social Security is that changes have to be made. Changes have got to be made. Many people are receiving benefits who've paid little to nothing into the program. This is why defined pension benefit programs, your dad worked for the post office.
Yes.
Right? And so he receives a pension check as he retired, right? Yes. And I think is your mother-in-law also a postal service
Absolutely.
employee?
Yes.
And teachers, lots of people are on pensions. Military, people who retired from the military, they receive pensions. The reason those pensions last is because only people who paid into them for a long period of time, they worked for a long period of time and had money paid in for them, they're the only ones receiving benefits from it. Social Security has a weird effect that it pays people who never paid anything in or very little in. And so right now, Social Security will, quote, turn upside down within the next 2 years. In other words, more money will start being drawn out than is coming in.
Okay.
But there's a huge amount of money there. And they're estimating that the funds will be depleted by the year 2035. Get fired up. However, from the trustees' 2019 update, I'm going to read this. This is from the 2019 update from the trustees of Social Security. So this is the old age and survivors system. It says Social Security's total cost is projected to exceed its total income, including interest, in 2020 for the first time since 1982. And to remain higher throughout the remainder of the projection period. Social Security's cost will be financed with a combination of non-interest income, interest income, and net redemptions of trust fund asset reserves from the general fund of the Treasury until 2035, when the old age survivor disability reserves will become depleted. Thereafter, scheduled tax income is projected to be sufficient to pay about 3/4 of scheduled benefits. So right now it's saying, if you're retiring after 2035, that number that's on your Social Security statement, you're only going to get about 75% of it. Through the end of the projection period in 2093. The ratio of reserves to 1 year's projected cost, the combined trust fund ratio, peaked in 2008, generally declined through 2018, is expected to decline steadily until the trust fund reserves are depleted in 2035. So here's the key quote. It's from me. Don't count on Social Security as your sole source of income during retirement. File that under, duh. But let me tell you, that is something that you need to hear, podcast listener. Social Security is a source of income. Don't let it be your single source of income. As always, we recommend 3 sources of income. You listen to this podcast long enough, you'll hear about 20 different options for funding your retirement. And so we really want to help you. More than anything, we want you to get your account set up at ssa.gov and make sure that you know what your number is. That is concluding that part of the podcast. Do you have some hot seat questions today?
Absolutely, Joe Sangl. I've got some hot seat questions.
Here we go. I never get to see these ahead of time.
Okay. What is the best? Are you listening? Are you ready? What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Don't be an idiot. No, that's from Dwight Schrute in The Office. Okay. I shouldn't watch that show, but it's weirdly hilarious and very awkward. No, my best piece of advice I've ever received from a financial standpoint, I'm just going to go on a financial standpoint, was the day I graduated college, May 12th, 1996 from Purdue, my degree in mechanical engineering. My second oldest brother was there, and he got me by the shoulders and said, "You're starting your brand new job tomorrow." He knew I'd gotten a job. Yeah. Everybody was very excited. And he said, "Go straight to human resources and tell them to max out your retirement. Just max it out." He said, they'll be confused, but just tell them to max it out, because you've never had money like that in your life, and you won't miss it if you start out never receiving it.
That's so funny, because when I asked that question, if you did not say that, that was what I was going to ask. I was going to say, hey, what about that brother or some family member that told you to max out?
So I did. I went and maxed it out. It's 13% of my pay, and they matched it dollar for dollar, 8% of my pay. The HR representative was so confused because no young person ever did that. And you know what? It's one of the reasons why we're thriving financially today.
I know when I started my very first job after college, I did not max out my retirement. Shame on me. So if you're listening and you have a job, match out, take the match, be a part of the retirement. So
yes.
Second hot seat question. This is going to be good. What is the weirdest food you have ever eaten?
My weirdest food I've ever eaten. And then I'm going to ask this question because I know you've did missions trips all over. I'm thinking here, my weirdest food I've ever eaten. I don't know if it's a weird food, but I just don't like it. And it's like pesto food. It's like some sort of ground up green stuff in Italian food. I remember I ordered that for some reason. It was a special in a job interview once. And it was like everything I could do to keep from just like really leaving the table and dumping the plate out somewhere else. It was awful.
Not a fan of pesto.
But I eat mushrooms. I eat mushrooms from the field, and you all think that's weird, but
That is
then
weird.
you've tasted them. They're really good.
Yeah.
I love them. I think it might be weird, but it's amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I remember when I was in China several years back, I ate turtle.
Ooh,
Yeah.
excellent.
I don't remember.
Turtle leg?
No, I think it was just the whole body. I don't know.
Excellent. I've ate frog legs several times. It was great. I had them on a cruise ship recently. It was great.
Okay, absolutely. And the third and final hot seat question, an interesting question. You should have a smirk. What would you do if you knew you could not fail?
I'd do what I'm doing right now.
Woo! Get fired up.
I already jumped off the cliff, baby. I did that in 2006, and I'm never looking back. I'm living my fully funded life, and fired up about helping people. And that's not a made up thing. It's what I love to do. What would you do?
You put me on the hot seat. I'm supposed to be the giver. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you.
That's it. It's a vision question, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah. And that we all have times and phases in our life where it's kind of like we've kind of accomplished everything that we kind of thought we wanted to. And now what's next? And
Absolutely.
in fact, that's one of the things that Jenny and I are doing in the very near future is we're actually getting away for 2 nights. And we're writing down the vision for the next 10 to 15 years. Where do we want to be?
That's awesome.
What do we want to accomplish? Where are the places we want to go? What are the things we want to do? If we are granted life for 15 more years, what does that look like? And so I encourage everybody to do that. I think it's very powerful to sit back and say, get out of the day-to-day and think longer term. Maybe that'll be an episode coming near us in the near future.
I like it.
Tell everybody what we're going to talk about in the next episode.
Absolutely. Next episode, drum roll, please. It's the 50th episode.
Woo!
Next week, we're going to be celebrating 50 episodes of the Monday Money Tip podcast.
And who knows what we're going to do with that episode. It's going to be great. Until that time, we do encourage you to go to ssa.gov. Check out the show notes. We'll have a link there. And if you like today's episode, please help us get this podcast to other people who you feel could benefit. You can do that real quickly by rating our podcast and leaving a review. These ratings and reviews, they help us make our podcast better for our listeners. And of course, on the last Monday of the month, we're going to be answering your top money questions. If you have a question you'd like to have featured on the show, please email it to us at info@iwbnin.com. Who knows? It could be featured on an upcoming podcast. And if you have implemented one of our tips, please, please, please share your success stories with us. It powers us on a daily basis, and we love to rejoice with you in your financial success. Email that to us as well, and we'll see you next time with episode number 50 of the Monday Money Tip Podcast. Have a great week. Get fired up.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.